Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Tres Leches Sports Podcast. I'm Gilly Matos. As always, here at Tres Leches, brought to you in conjunction with El Mundo Boston. And as always, joined by my colleagues, mis colegas, longtime baseball announcer Uri Berenguer. How you doing, Yuri?
Yo, what's up, Gil? I'm chileando, man. I'm over here. I'm chilling. I'm celebrating. I'm happy. I like to see the GOAT being up there and being drunk. I mean, it kind of reminded me of a couple of my days back in college. Actually, that's not true. Not even back in college. Just a couple of weeks ago. Just really enjoyed it, having fun. How about you?
I remember those Jaeger days after baseball games in Fenway. When
you were to blame for most of them.
I know. Also joined by New England Revolution and New England Patriot reporter Omar Cabrera. How you doing, Omar?
Oh man, I'm happy to be back, guys. I missed you last week, and like you said, I'm also excited. Happy for Tom Brady. Not that happy that he won another championship before the Patriots did, but great for him. He definitely
deserves
it. Why not? Why not is right. And as always, guys, the Tres Leches Sports Podcast. Three guys bringing you three topics in the world of sports, and we're going to start off right now with the NFL, of course. As the Super Bowl just ended, Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl. Sounds ridiculous even saying that, doesn't it? Leading the Bucs to a 31-9 win over the Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. My question to you guys, and we'll start with you, O. Does this victory make Brady the GOAT of all GOATs? And also, does it tarnish the reputation of the NFL coaching GOAT, Bill Belichick? Let's start with you, O.
No, and no. He's definitely the GOAT of football, but he's not the GOAT of all sports. You might be like, what? You're crazy. Nah, but I tell you why. I have other athletes way ahead of Tom Brady. First of all, my number one athlete, the GOAT of all the GOATs, is the great Bill Russell. 11 championships in the NBA during his 13-year career, a gold medal, 2 championships in college. Man, I believe it was 5 MVPs, 12-time All-Star player. So, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah,
and
but he was playing against painters and like
plumbers.
5'7" painters. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say something like that. But at the same time, guys, we also got to realize the time when he was playing. A time during segregation.
I'm kidding, by the way.
I'm not kidding.
I respect Bill Russell immensely.
I hope you do. I know yours not.
I'm not kidding. I respect him, but I'm not kidding about my point. I respect him, though.
But you got to give it credit. Come on. During that time, it was also hard for an athlete of color, to play any type of sports. It was a lot of sacrifices. It was more difficult. They had to probably work as hard as any other athlete just to accomplish anything.
I get all that, Omar. I get all that, dude. But come on, all due respect to Bill Russell. I mean, he is definitely one of our greats. But he was playing in a league of 8 teams. I mean, 11 championships, 9 of them came when the league was only made up of 8 teams. Yeah. 8 teams, dude. 8 teams. All right, so think about that.
So all right, let's see.
We'll reel it back in, but you can only win the ones that are put in front of you, and he won them all. He definitely did. So Russell is your GOAT of GOATs in that sense. Okay.
11 in 13 years. That's amazing. Come on. All right, fine. You might want to argue against Bill Russell because of the time he played. The third one on my list was Muhammad Ali. So you're going to tell me Muhammad Ali was not the greatest, even though he was fighting in the 60s, the 70s, whenever it was. To me, Muhammad Ali, and he did it on his own. He didn't have to do a team or anything. You know what? He won everything individually. And then my second one is Michael Jordan. So you're going to tell me Michael Jordan in the 90s doesn't really count? Come on. Michael Jordan did 6 championships in 6 tries. You know what? He never lost. Tom Brady lost 3 finals. So that's why, you know what? You can't tell me that Michael Jordan and even Bill Russell Muhammad Ali is not above the great Tom Brady in that list.
Conveniently retired and avoided the Houston Rockets. I'm just kidding. Playing devil's advocate.
And lastly, my last point, guys. Wait, I got one more point. And lastly, you know what? I'm not willing to give somebody the title of GOAT for a sport that's only played in the United States, maybe Mexico, Canada, and maybe some other European country.
Here comes the
if I'm
gonna
give that title, I have to be an athlete that whose sport is like worldwide. So I'm not ready to give.
So Bill Russell. So the NBA and basketball was played when Bill Russell was playing basketball. It was played worldwide, right?
Well, that was played worldwide.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The NBA is played now everywhere.
Wow.
And it was played back then too. Too. So
there goes that argument.
Yeah, there's my argument. So you know what? You gotta tell me, like the cricket's greatest player of all time can be considered one of the GOATs just because he's great at cricket? No, come on.
Yeah. Everybody knows Maradona is the greatest of all time, anyways, in soccer. But
soccer, there you go. Worldwide.
Yuri, what do you think about this? I mean, is he the GOAT of GOATs, and does it affect and tarnish the Belichick's legacy?
Well, you know what? Let me start backwards, actually, just because just to give Belichick the respect he deserves. No, it doesn't tarnish Belichick's legacy, in my opinion. I'm sick of this Belichick versus Brady thing. What Brady did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, great. He is awesome. He's the greatest, without a doubt, the greatest football player of all time, greatest quarterback of all time. What he did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was amazing. He did form a super team. He did it a la LeBron James and formed a super team. He pretty much made it his team, and that's great. But that has nothing to do with Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick had a poor season, but yes, his team was riddled with injuries. He didn't have a football team that he was really able to coach. And what he's done, what he did as coach, or what he's already done as a coach, his legacy's already written. It's already there. No, it doesn't tarnish his legacy at all. He is the greatest of all time when it comes to coaches in the NFL, without a doubt. Now, with the whole greatest of all time with Tom Brady in all sports, I'll tell you why I eliminate Muhammad Ali first. Why? Because it's an individual sport. I can't compare an individual sport. I mean, I understand it. I love Ali. I'm actually a great fan. I'm a huge fan of Muhammad Ali. My father's favorite of all time, without a doubt. Yes, I respect Muhammad Ali, but I can't compare an athlete of an individual sport to an athlete of a team sport. I mean, it's two very different animals. And a team sport, you have to work. No, you have to know how to work.
We should have two categories then.
Oh, no, okay. No, listen. As an individual, you're going to have to control yourself, and that's it. As a team sport, you have to learn how to play with several different people, with other teammates. And he's done it with many teams, with 7 teams. He's gone to 10 championships, and he's just succeeded. The only one, in my opinion, that can be mentioned in the same page is Michael Jordan. That's the only argument that can be made, in my opinion. MJ, absolutely, one of the greatest of all time. But the thing that I say against MJ is, yeah, he won 6 out of 6, but he only made it to 6. Tom made it to 10. So, you pick, you pick your druthers. If I have to say, yeah, I got to give it to Tom. Tom right now is the greatest of all of the greatest.
I would give it to Serena Williams, first of all, who has won more than anybody if we're going with individual sports.
I'm not talking about
with that one there, but look, a friend of mine wrote to me and said, now nobody can debate that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. And I'm like, who was debating this even 3 Super Bowls ago? Like, why are we even still debating this? So that one's, that's out of the way. But like you, Yuri, I hate this argument of like Brady against Belichick and whatnot, because let's be honest, listen, Tom Brady's not getting by the great Peyton Manning all those years without Belichick's defense and all the great defensive players that they had on that side either. He's not winning either one of those Rams Super Bowls without the defense that Belichick put together. That Seahawks Super Bowl, was won on a defensive play. So you don't have one without the other, basically, is what I'm saying, right? So one does not exist without the other. They coexisted, everything else. I applaud Tom Brady for winning with Tampa Bay. Amazing. You said he put a super team together. I don't really agree with that, because I think he went to that team already. He brought Gronk with him, who was kind of broken down as is.
He also brought AB.
They drafted a lineman. Yeah, he brought AB, but I mean, AB's not the AB of 3 years ago. It's not like.
No, but he's still AB. He's still AB.
But it's
you got a touchdown.
Yeah, he's
exactly.
He this team was close last year. It was close last year. Jameis threw 30 interceptions and it cost him, but they were within 7 points in a lot of those losses, right? So so he definitely chose his opportunity, right, in that sense, and it paid off. So
and let's. I'm sorry, Gil. I don't mean to cut you off, but when I say that he formed a super team, I'm not saying that as a knock. I'm saying that he is that great. Unlike the NBA, where LeBron James can do it, because that's what the NBA is all about mostly. In the NFL's not like that. So the fact that he can put a super team together, that's even more credit to him.
I mean, it's a lot easier to manipulate in the NFL when it's only 5 guys on the NBA. Sorry, when it's 5 guys on the court at the same time. A lot easier to manipulate. And let's be honest too. You're Tom Brady. You have 6 champiomships going into what did people expect him to go play in Jacksonville this year? Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, people want to play with him. Simple as that.
One more thing. Here's my argument with the individual versus team, right? All right, you're right. It's difficult because you have to play together. You have to be, on point with the rest of the team in order to win. But at the same time, there's times when you might suck. And you know what? Your team's going to pick you up and you're going to win that title, that game, because your team, just like Gil just mentioned, you know what? That game against Seattle was won because of defensive play. So you know what?
Oh, come on. No, don't give me that.
Tom Brady wouldn't have 7 championships right now. So there you go. When you play in a team, you can be allowed to play a really terrible game, but if the rest of your team plays well, you might still be able to win that game, which is not going to happen in a fight if you suck that night, right? So there you go.
If you're even in the discussion to being greatest of all time, we're not talking about anybody who sucked. All right, go stop it. Stop it. Oh, we might
Proves my
suck. No,
point.
you're Tom Brady. No, actually, you didn't. You just destroyed your point. It's
Yeah,
I'm curious. Without going too far into it, Omar, just give me a quick answer. One word answer, no description behind it. Who is the greatest of all time in soccer?
It's all that one. I have to be Pelé.
Okay. All right.
oh,
He played played against plumbers too.
Yes.
Haters. You guys are hater against like the old eras, but it's okay.
All right. So now that we established that Tom Brady is, we're going to go over to baseball, guys. Baseball spring training is right around the corner. Spring is right around the corner. Finally, the MLB and MLBPA finally reached an agreement on terms for the 2021 season, which includes some new rules. Some new rules to the old ballgame, that is, like scheduled seven inning doubleheaders, starting extra innings with a man on second base. I just got to start off real quick. I just got to ask real quick. Pretty simple. Gil, how do you feel about the new rules?
Well, Yuri, I'm glad that finally Rob Manfred and his guys were able to make a decision on the universal DH, albeit the wrong one, right? But it's still amazing to me that we're like a week from spring training and there's teams still trying to figure out the rosters and not sure if there's a decision on whether or not they're going to have universal DH or not. Anyways, I digress. I am glad that they're doing the 7 inning doubleheaders. I'm glad they're not watering down the playoffs this year. I am also glad that they're starting with a runner on second for extra innings. It does make it very exciting. One thing that I don't think people are really talking about, though, is this ridiculous health and safety protocols that they agreed with, basically saying that players and staff need to do a 5-day at-home quarantine before reporting to spring training. But the protocols, they came out last night, less than 5 days before players and staff had to spring training. So, like,
Yeah.
And then the other thing, guys, is this whole thing about the baseball, right? Like this leaked MLB memo saying that their independent lab found the balls went over 300. There was over 2 feet lost, over 300. I don't know what it is. Basically, the balls died. They deadened the ball down for this year. So there's going to be a lot less home runs.
Deadened.
And, I know it's not a word, but you know what I mean. But
no, that's the word they're using. It's like, yeah, they made up a word for this. It's ridiculous. Deadened. They deadened the ball. Shut up.
So they're saying that they're going to decrease the distance that the ball travels with the new ball, and whether that means to get more balls in play and less people swinging for the fences, whatever it is, or is it a way to screw over the baseball players right before you collective bargaining agreement and their stats go down, and then you have like some argument there. So MLB guys, if they've proven anything right now, look. There's a few things I like about their rules, but MLB has so many issues right now between the players and the owners. Like they've always had that it's tough to get excited about.
I love how they always I love MLB's independent investigators. Who pays that as independent investigators? Well, MLB does. Okay, it's real independent. I love it. But anyways, I also wonder. They scheduled these 7-inning doubleheaders. If you have scheduled 7-inning doubleheaders, how the hell does the schedule extend to October? The Red Sox final game is October 3rd against at the Nationals. I'm like, how does that happen? But I don't know. As Gil, I also digress. I got to get your take on these new rules, Gil. Omar, what do you think?
Well, guys, as the purest guy that I am, I don't really like a lot of these rules, right? But being that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, we're still on COVID alert. I can take some of those rules for another season, for one season. But don't get me wrong, it's not something I like. You know what? Starting second base, in extra innings and playing 7 innings games, that reminds me of my Little League days when I used to think I was either Wade Boggs or Will McGee playing outside in any field. It reminds me of that because I'm like, that's what you will do. Like, anytime you think 7 innings, I used to think about Little League baseball, whether when I was either playing or coaching. So I definitely don't like that because I think that's what differentiates, the pros versus minor leaguers or amateur baseball. Nine full game innings and extra innings, the normal way, starting from home plate, not from second base. That's the way I look at it. And 7 innings, there's no way I will ever really like that. Maybe this year again, but after next year, I hope everything goes back to normal.
Well, we're talking about 7-inning double headers. I like the 7-inning double headers. But you did actually take a step ahead of me. You got ahead of me rather. I was actually going to ask, how do you feel about perhaps, and I take this idea from our buddy Al, how would you guys feel about having baseball be a 7-inning game? Omar obviously just gave me his take. What do you think, Gil? Should all baseball games be 7 innings?
No, I don't like that at all. I don't like that. It's not senior league, it's not like 14,
Exactly.
15, 16-year-olds. I don't like that at all. I do like the doubleheader thing, but yeah, not I wouldn't want to see that for every single game.
And
Yeah.
I know what they're trying to do. They need to cut times of some of those games that are like really lengthy, maybe not that exciting. But I feel like there's other areas where they can do that, instead of having to just make the game 7 innings. That's the way I look at it. They should work, work hard, study, I don't know, do whatever it takes to make sure they cut it, but in other areas of the game.
It seems to me like we're all on the same page on this one. I mean, I do like the 7 inning doubleheaders. For doubleheaders, I do like it, the 7 innings. But yeah, I agree with regular season games. No, they shouldn't be 7 innings. I mean, first of all, you're talking about cutting time off the game. The eighth and the ninth inning are usually the two fastest innings of the baseball game. I mean, more often than not, those are the two fastest innings. You have your setup guy, who's normally a pretty damn good pitcher, and you have your closer, who's normally a pretty damn good pitcher. If he's not that good, he blows the save and the game's over anyway. So it doesn't matter. In 81 times a season, the ninth inning is only half an inning. So I mean, let's be realistic. I think that's silly. I mean, cutting it down to a 7 inning game, no, that's, to me, you're going to lose. There's a whole lot of guys who are going to be losing jobs. A and B. Honestly, I think the difference in between the pros and the minor leaguers, like you said, is more has to do with the 162 game schedule when they have to play 21 games in a row or whatever. That's the bigger difference to me. The whole 7 inning to 9 inning, no, I don't think that's the difference. But it's not baseball.
But I don't think they're doing the 7 inning doubleheaders to cut down on the time and make it more appealing to the audience. I think it's just for the players, for the players' sake, right? And I think it's. I understand why they want to speed up the game a little bit, but guys, like we've talked about this before, the average time of an NFL game, the average action in an NFL game is between 11 and 15 minutes. That's it.
Exactly.
So you're watching a 3-hour event where there's 11
Same
to 15
thing.
minutes of action. The difference is obviously there's players running on and off, the camera angles, and they got, a bunch of different players in there. With baseball, it's a lot slower. The hat, the ball, pick up the chalk, like all that other stuff. Can't spit this year because of COVID. But what my big concern though, and this is something completely unrelated, is what's going to happen in minor league baseball this year again. You have all this whole like generation of prospects and everything who didn't play last year and might not play again this year. Like that's definitely going to affect a lot of players, in the development of a lot of players as well. So, yeah,
it's baseball. Baseball. I think the biggest thing or the best thing you said so far in this, as far as this topic goes, Gil, is that baseball has a lot bigger problems to deal with than what they're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm glad that we all agree on the 7 innings. At least we agree on one thing, guys. Let's see if we can agree on the next topic. With the NBA trading deadline only a month and a half away, guys, exactly March 25th, the Boston Celtics have a lot of work to do. They're barely a 500 team at this moment, and it's obvious that they need a lot of help in different areas in order to compete with the other teams that we know are definitely going to make it far into the playoff. Gil, what do you think Danny Ainge has to do in order to compete, and hopefully get a team that can make it at least to the conference finals this year?
I think it's very clear what they need. They need to bolster their wing, and they need a big man, an athletic big man. Tristan Thompson, interestingly enough, just became trade eligible this week, and so his salary is something that could be packaged with something. He makes over $9 million. Maybe Daniel Tice is included in a deal as well. But some of the names I keep hearing out there is Aaron Gordon of the Magic, who would definitely give him an athletic forward up front who can solve the rebounding problems. If you really want to, Harrison Barnes is another guy that I've heard. If you really want to dream big, it's Bradley Beal and Karl Anthony Towns, right? Obviously, they'd have to give up quite a bit to get that. And I don't know if they have the firepower to get that, but they're definitely in a good position right now in the sense of, listen, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they are performing at an all-NBA level. They've made the leap. So those two young guys, you're building a team around them. Kemba, you're hoping can come back from the knee injury and come back into be Kemba. And we're seeing his struggles, and he doesn't seem to be 100% yet. They're hoping that they can get something out of Romeo Langford when he comes back. But you have the pillars and the cornerstones of this team were Tatum and Brown. Obviously, Marcus Smart's the heart and soul of the team, but I think if you can put some guys around those guys, you can make some noise in not only the Eastern Conference, but you can make some noise in the finals as well. So are they going to get a big fish with that $28.5 million exception they got on the Hayward deal? That's the big question. Are they going to get Beal? Are they going to get a Karl-Anthony Towns? Or is it going to be a lesser player like Aaron Gordon who can still make an impact and help them out? That's to be seen.
It's definitely a great cap space to have, and that definitely opens the door for them to be able to do a lot of things. Hopefully Danny Ainge is going to be smart, and going to do the right thing. Yuri, what do you think?
You see, what I think actually goes along the lines with Gil, but the one thing that I want to point out is, guys, let's be clear. The time to win is now. The window is now. You're not going to get this duo. You're not going to get Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum better than what they are right now. You have a team that needs to win, but needs to win now. Danny Ainge needs to take advantage of that $28.5 million trade exception, which is the largest one in league history, by the way, and get what they do need, in my opinion, is they need, they also need to close off games. Actually, I think what we started to see from the Celtics is that they can't close off games, and that obviously falls on the arms or on the shoulders of Tatum and Brown. But what they need to acquire, in my opinion, guys, I go with one guy. Right now, they need a big guy. They need a big guy who can make a difference, who can defend, a big guy who can be a presence on the paint, and that's Nikola Vucevic for me. For me, you can't. It's a great option. It's a guy who was an all-star, 2019. A guy who has, I think, two years left on his contract. We're talking about Vucevic from the Orlando Magic as well. I think he's the kind of guy that the Celtics are missing. He's the presence, the authority that the Celtics are missing. To me, honestly, I think that he's the right fit. He's the right fit. And by the way, with the $28.5 million trade exception and offering some draft picks, Danny Ainge has obviously not hit on draft picks recently. Why not use those draft picks? Why not use those?
You have to use them. And look, if anything, if the Kawhi Leonard deal, if the James Harden deal, if all these deals that Oklahoma pulled off, is that NBA teams do not value draft picks as much as like an NFL team does. And they're willing to get rid of them into the future in order to win now. And you're absolutely right. They need to do it now. I think I like the Vucevic addition if they do get him. I think he definitely solves a lot of their problems, but they need a big guy because you got to, if you're going to compete with, they still have a lot of mountain to climb in here, the Miami Heat this year. But if you're going to compete with Bam Adebayo, if you're going to compete with Joel Embiid, the big hole on the Brooklyn Nets right now is that they don't have a big guy and they have to play Durant in the 5, right? So if you can expose that with an athletic big guy like Vucevic or I'm dreaming, Karl-Anthony Towns, and they're going to need it if you're going to face the Lakers in the West as well. You're going to need somebody to go up against Anthony Davis, or Giannis even in the East as well. So
I agree with you guys, and actually that's one thing I was going to mention. And the only name you guys didn't mention is the one I have at the top of my list, and that position is the Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers. I think he would be a great fit for the Celtics. I think is the guy that, in Indiana, he might not be one of the top dogs because they have other guys who get the ball more, score a lot more. But if this guy is given the opportunity, I think he could be a great third or fourth scorer after Tatum and Jason Brown. So I think that would definitely be a great pickup for me. Again, I love Daniel Tice. I think Daniel Tice is a good guy, but he's not a true center. And I also think Robert Williams is coming along, but he's not ready to get a lot of minutes yet. So that's why I think we definitely need like a established young true center that can definitely do a lot of damage, especially in the playoff when it comes time to play against all those guys that Gil mentioned.
I'd like to see them play Time Lord Robert Williams a little more. I'd like to see, I think in the limited time he's had, he has shown some bright spots, and he does look a little lost sometimes on defense, especially on switches. But I'd like to see him get a little more run just so they know exactly what they have in him. But that's a good one too, Miles Turner, because if they get Miles Turner, they might be able to have enough space to get a Harrison Barnes as well. And it's the NBA, right? Everybody's got 2 or 3 good stars. And then it's, those your 6, 7, 8, 9 guys are huge come playoff time as well. And that's what really carries you. So.
And the Kings may absolutely be willing to, part ways with Barnes. I mean, what they've lost 2 of the 8 of the last 10 or something like that. So
they're always rebuilding.
Seems like it every year. Ever since like Chris Webber left.
Always rebuilding. Well, guys, we reached the last segment of the show here where we give the abrazo or chancletazo, where we give somebody a hug or a spanking with a flip-flop. Let's start off with you. What do you got this week?
I thought you said Gil. I mean, I thought you said Yuri. You said,
Oh,
oh.
So you would
I said, oh.
you would be O.
No, no, I didn't
yeah.
say. I didn't hear that all this
Yeah.
time.
I was wondering what
Oh, my
happened.
bad,
there.
my
I'm like,
bad.
is he?
He's
My
still
bad, I
thinking
was
about the
like-
great. He's still thinking about the greatest of all time. He's thinking about the greatest of all
Well, he's
time.
still the
I
greatest
thought
of
he
all
was.
time.
I thought he was still trying to figure out his microphone.
It's
Four
speaking-
months later.
Speaking of the greatest of all times, it has to do with the greatest of all time because my big abrazo this week goes up there in heaven to Leon Spinks, who sadly passed away last week at the age of 67. The boxer who in 1978 pulled one of the most stunning upsets in boxing history by defeating the great Muhammad Ali to become the undisputed world heavyweight champion of the world. My dad used to always tell me that his younger brother, Michael, was probably better known and more athletic, but it was Leon who actually left a big stamp in the history of boxing. And for that, a big abrazo to him and his family. Rest in peace, champion Michael Leon Spinks.
I always remember his toothless smile after that fight.
Yep.
I was gonna say boxing will never have a better smile.
Yeah. Michael Spinks, the guy knocked out in 93 seconds by Mike Tyson. Nobody knows.
I used to always get him confused.
What do you got this week, Yuri?
Well, guys, I hate to end the show also on a somber note, but I definitely have to give a big shout out and a big abrazo to a good buddy, a mentor, a friend. Just you're starting to hear so many stories, and they're all positive, and the fact is that they're all true. I'm talking about obviously Pedro Gomez, who passed away earlier this week. Actually passed away Sunday night, if I'm not mistaken. Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. 58-year-old. Pedro covered baseball for forever, seemingly. I mean, Cuban descent. He was born here in the U.S., but he was so proud of his Cuban heritage. I'll tell you one quick story of when I first met Pedro. And guys, I spent 20 some odd years. I spent 20 some odd years working in Major League Baseball, TV, radio, et cetera. But you get to learn, or you get to meet some of these personalities, some of these quasi-famous people, and people that you admire. Well, Pedro was one of those guys that I admired. I remember being in Tennessee. I was doing the civil rights game. I was broadcasting the civil rights game for Sirius XM radio, and I was on the bus. I get off the bus where the team was coming in on, and suddenly Pedro calls my name, and I remember my reaction was like, "Whoa, holy crap! Pedro Gomez knows who I am." I'm talking about I was 25, 26, something like that. I was just so surprised to know that Pedro Gomez knew who I was. And he comes up to me and just starts talking baseball. Like you and like any of us would do it. And I just remember thinking like, wow, this guy really doesn't care who he is. He's just a cool guy. And that was Pedro. And that was Pedro. A really good guy, really cool guy. And a guy who you really kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. He did it all right. He worked hard. He was a great man. And I think baseball, journalism has lost one of their huge diamonds, one of the big diamonds in the world.
Yeah, certainly, everything you hear about him, all these stories about what a great guy he was, and definitely somebody, from a professional standpoint, definitely miss all his reports. Very knowledgeable baseball reporter as well. So rest in peace.
Only 58 years old too, which as you get older, you start realizing, 58's not that old.
No, gone too soon. Well, guys, I am gonna give a couple of chancletazos here. My first chancletazo goes to anybody who keeps referring to Patrick Mahomes or name whatever quarterback of the year it is as the baby goat or the next goat or anything like that. Just stop it. Just absolutely stop it. This is what Tom Brady has accomplished is extremely, extremely difficult. We'll probably never see it again.
Tell him, Gil.
So just stop. I mean, listen.
Tell him, Gil.
Ben Roethlisberger, by the time he was 25, had 2 Super Bowl championships as well. Where's he now? Okay, great. He'll end up in Canton, but he was never back there. So it's extremely difficult. Extremely difficult to get back there. Extremely difficult to win it again. And doesn't take anything away from how great Mahomes is and how fantastic he is, and he's probably the most physically gifted quarterback we've ever seen. But there's levels to this thing, and stop it. Nobody's touching Brady's level anymore. My other chunk of that is going to go to the Golden Boy Promotions team and anybody who is suggesting that Ryan Garcia should fight Manny Pacquiao. Again, Ryan Garcia would be going up 2 weight classes to fight the Filipino legend. There's levels to this shit, guys. There's levels to this and I say this because I love Ryan Garcia and I think he's a very talented fighter. But to get into the ring just to get a payday against somebody like Manny Pacquiao, who is still dangerous, who proved this when he won the championship from Thurman, about a year and a half ago, when Thurman was a young champion and Pacquiao knocks him down the first round. And Thurman just has that look on his face like, holy shit, so just stop. This kid should just keep collecting his checks because he's got a very bright future ahead of him, and that he should absolutely not go in there against Pacquiao because it's probably not going to end well. So
those chancletas.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, why do you even? Why, if you're Golden Boy Productions, why do you even suggest that? Why promotions rather? Why do you?
Money, Manny. With Manny comes money. Manny comes money.
That's
and listen,
they
did the same thing with Canelo Alvarez when he fought Floyd Mayweather. He wasn't ready to fight Floyd at the time, and he was a young star, or whatever. They brought him up and he collected his check, and who cares that he lost, right? But anyways,
if you were a fighter, will you do it, Gil?
Yeah, probably.
I love the honesty.
We got to we'll make up a title belt for you too.
That'll be the only chance to get a big paycheck. So.
Well, guys, we reached the end of this episode of Tres Leches Podcast, guys. Okay, let's try that again. We reached the end of this episode of Tres Leches Sports Podcast. Make sure you catch us on the social medias. Check them out down there. Make sure you catch us here every week as well. For Yuri and Omar, I'm Yuli Matos. Have a great week, guys. Always brought to you in conjunction with Mundo Boston. Peace.
Keep partying, Goat. Keep partying, baby.